kings, we pound for pound. UFC thrills, stills nights get loud. Big EQP, that's how we get down.
Yo, what up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GRP. Back here for another long talk about fights. I totally spaced it. I was gonna say I'm actually excited this week. Whether it seems like it or not, my damn clock is looking stupid. That one that caught my eye big time. But oh, my camera's all jacked too. What I'm just all over the place. There we go. Yeah, I got sidetracked doing some other stuff around here, and I didn't even realize what time it was, so I didn't even check on everything. But I'm here. I'm back. I'm excited. Got some big fights this weekend. Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. UFC 309. That's all happening this weekend. I mean, this is some of the biggest you can get. You know, a lot of people don't like Jake Paul. That's okay, because he's fighting a legend in Mike Tyson. A lot of people don't like the fact that this fight's happening, but you're gonna have to get over it because it's happening. And it's happening tomorrow night. So Friday night for a boxing match, kind of weird night for a boxing match, but maybe they were smart enough to know that they couldn't go up against a really big UFC pay-per-view card. I'm actually surprised it's happening on the same weekend. But with Jake Paul being who Jake Paul is, he's pretty good at being business-minded, and, you know, he makes good decisions in that manner for the most part. Whether you like him or not, you got to give him props for what he does, the money he makes, and the fact that he's been doing all of this stuff for so long. I can't deny it. You know, he's good at what he does, and now he's good at putting together boxing matches, and that's what he's done here. Even though we had a little bit of wait, what am I looking at here? Did I miss something? Okay, so I just saw a weird picture. I wasn't sure if I was seeing that correctly, but you know, with boxing, he's done this thing and he's gotten it to the point where he's got Mike Tyson signed on, and he's fighting Mike Tyson for real. So, you know, even with the slight rescheduling and, you know, postponement of the fight, it's still here. It's happening as of right now. Nothing's getting in the way. So, yeah, it is what it is. Like it or not, it's happening. And then we have UFC 309, Stipe Miocic versus Jon Jones for the heavyweight title. Something we thought everyone was kind of waiting to see years ago, because everyone wanted to see Jon Jones up in heavyweight for the longest time. Now he's finally there. He's holding the belt. Stipe hasn't fought in like 4 years. So yeah, we got that fight too. Some people are not happy about this fight either, thinking that Jon Jones should be fighting somebody like Alex Pereira, who's not even in the heavyweight division, but is flirted with going up there. And then, you know, there's not a whole lot else happening in the heavyweight division right now. He went through Cyril Gane, didn't show much. So this is the fight that's happening. Stipe's here. Oh, Tom Aspinall is the other one that everyone thinks he's the interim title holder right now. So why not unify those belts? He doesn't care. Not doing it. As of right now, it's Stipe versus him tomorrow, Saturday night. And I'm pretty excited about all these. So we got a lot to talk about, because there's also a good co-main event for that boxing match with Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, which is Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor. Two big names in women's boxing. They went to war the last time they fought each other, so this is a rematch. And Katie Taylor won that fight by decision, but a lot of people think that Amanda Serrano got robbed. So we'll get into that too, because that's a big fight as well. And then a little bit of a recap of UFC Vegas 100, the 100th fight night to happen at the UFC Apex. So that went down last weekend. Not too bad of a card. Some decent fights on there. A lot more finishes than we've had in the past. I don't know. Few events. I can't even count how many. But it happened, and we had some good finishes. So we got some good stuff to talk about there. And then, of course, I listed everything. That's everything going on. I'm all out of sorts because I got all frantic because I was late. I'm like, shit. I was busy messing with this, messing with that, getting everything in order. I thought I was on top of it all, but then that's okay. Nothing like keeping myself on my toes, I guess. My week has been kind of weird anyway, all the way through. Just too much trying to figure out what to do at work. We're waiting on projects to hit, so it's kind of that in between time where it's frustrating because there's not a whole lot to do. So you got to find stuff to do. You got to be productive, all that good stuff. And I'm the one that has to find the work. So that gets a little stressful and gets on my nerves. But either way, happy to have a job, happy to have work coming up so we don't have to find any. Besides that, I got this weekend's going to be busy. Last weekend I went to the casino and I played blackjack at a table for the first time. That was fun. I didn't lose too much money. I set down a certain amount of money to play with, and I only lost about a quarter of it after I walked away. Probably about 2 hours of gameplay, and I walked away with like 3/4 of my money that I sat down with. So not too bad. I did go up a little bit for a while. I mean, I'm talking, we're playing like $15 hands, right? I mean, of course you can put more down, but it's my first time playing at a table and really at a casino and just playing legit. So I had been kind of anticipating that. I was excited to try it and actually play. And I'm glad I got to do it kind of at a local casino instead of like at Vegas. Starting at Vegas might have been a little weird and tough, but regardless, if I would have been in Vegas, I would have just done it anyway. Either way, it was fun, and it was cool to finally get there, play. I played some slots and stuff. Overall, didn't do well. Not a whole lot of luck. But it was fun, and it was a good time. Hung out with some friends, stayed the night at the casino. Good little kind of weekend away, or I should say one night. We weren't really there. We only stayed one night. So, but it was fun, and it was cool to just hang out and have a good time. So, other than that, I got Clark, Mr. Golf and Glory, who has been on this podcast multiple times. His birthday's coming up this weekend, so we have a lot of stuff planned, kind of. Of course, he wants to play some golf, so we're doing that. But doing some other stuff too, and then we got UFC 309 happening Saturday night. So I'm not doing a watch party. I actually wanted to do a watch party for Friday night and Saturday night, but because Clark's birthday is happening and I had already committed to all that, of course, I'm not gonna snub my friend's birthday for anything that I'm not even getting paid for. But I will be bringing out some content. I plan on watching the fights on Friday, regardless of what I'm doing. I'm gonna be watching and probably try to get some content of that, some live reactions, or I should say some reactions to the fights while I'm watching them. I'll put my wireless mics to some use because I haven't really done that 100% yet. So I'll be doing that, and then on Saturday I'm gonna start up a camera while I'm sitting on the couch watching the fights and do some reaction videos that way as well. So look out for that content coming next week after I, do all that and watch all the fights. And hopefully on Sunday, well, I might not have much time on Sunday, but Sunday, Monday, something like that, I'll have some content out with some reactions. So be on the lookout for that. Don't forget to like and subscribe here and hit that notification bell. So if I release anything on YouTube, you will know. And whenever I go live, you will know. And follow all my social media. It's going on down there. I've been posting some TikToks lately because obviously Jake Paul is big on social media. So, I mean, you can't go without posting something about that, right? So I have some stuff with Mike Tyson, some stuff with Jake Paul. And I might push out a couple more before Saturday. Mike goes inside the body. Jake gets a big body hook. So Cold Art Maker, I believe, thinks that this is going to be a trading of body shots. But the rules do say that their knockouts are permitted. Now, what's happening behind the scenes, I don't know. But what's your full prediction? Cold Art Maker changed his name to Cold Art Maker MMA, so that's cool. Haven't seen you in a bit. I don't think he's been in the chat for a couple episodes. So, welcome back. Tell me what your full prediction is for Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul and Stipe versus Jon Jones. I'm sure you have something to say about that one too. Mike by decision. Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to go to decision, but I'm really hoping that one way or the other, somebody gets knocked out. Stipe by decision. Ooh, I think if he wins, it will be by decision, but that's going to be tough because Jon Jones kind of starts a little slow, and he does like to take it into deep water, so that might be tough. But I'll give all my breakdown and prediction when we get into that fight. But thanks for the predictions, Cold Art Maker. Appreciate that, and thanks for being in the chat like always. Appreciate that too. Other than that, I guess let's just get into it because we definitely have plenty to talk about. And while we're on the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul topic, let's just hit it with that first. So, as I said, Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul happening live on Netflix. So this isn't a pay-per-view. If you have Netflix, you get to watch this fight, plain and simple. If you have it already, you get to watch it. If you don't have it, getting a subscription to Netflix is a lot cheaper than getting a pay-per-view. I'll tell you that much, especially on ESPN, where you have to subscribe to the damn app, and then you have to also buy the pay-per-view for the UFCs. So way cheaper. So it's going to be an easy way to get to it. Hopefully Netflix doesn't have any problems with streaming. This is their first official real combat sports live event happening Friday, tomorrow night, because today's Thursday. So it's happening at, it says 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, account for your own time zone there. I always have to try to figure out what time all of that is and what it means, especially since the time just changed. That's always a confusing one. But either way, live on Netflix, basically free if you already have Netflix, because you're not going to pay again. You don't have to pay anything if you have Netflix, like I said. So that's pretty dope. And we're getting a crazy fight for the first time ever. Jake Paul. A lot of you might not like him. A lot of you might think that he's a piece of shit or a shitty boxer, but he's been in this game for a little bit now, and he's fought some decent names. This one being the biggest one that he's fought. So against Mike Tyson, 27 years old versus 58 years old. Say what you will about it, but it's intriguing. I've had my reservations about this fight as well. I think I've said enough about it in the past. I feel like it's a tough one because of the age difference. Mike Tyson already having medical issues, health issues that caused this fight to be postponed. A lot of speculation as to whether that was planned or not, but whatever. We never know, right? I mean, unless somebody spills the beans somewhere or fucking talks some shit, we'll never know. So we take it for what it is, and the fight's happening tomorrow night. Unless something crazy happens between now and then. Isn't far-fetched because it's happened a lot in other fights, boxing, MMA, everything else. So you never know. Keep an eye open. I know I will be, because these are those big fights that you're just crossing your fingers and nothing happens between now and the time they actually have to fight. They've already weighed in. Everything's good to go. So let's hope that it stays that way. But as far as the fight itself, the rules for the fight, which everyone speculated that, of course, there's not going to be a knockout. There's like one side's not going to be able to knock the other side out, or only it's going to be body shots pretty much. just like the Mike Tyson Roy Jones Jr. fight. I did find out that that one did have somewhat of a stipulation where if they went to the head, they couldn't go full force. That sucks, but it was an exhibition. This fight has been sanctioned as a professional boxing match. So Tyson and Paul will wear 14-ounce gloves rather than the standard 10. The rounds will be 2 minutes rather than 3 minutes, and they'll fight for 8 rounds instead of 10 or 12 like normal fights for men. So, you know, there's a little bit of rule differences there, but it's still considered a sanctioned boxing match and a professional fight. And, you know, unless there's some kind of something in the contracts, as of right now, they'll be going full force at each other, trying to knock each other out. Whether that will take place tomorrow night or not, yet to be seen, right? That's what we're going to be waiting to watch, waiting to see, and hoping for a knockout. But I have a gut feeling that no matter what happens, it's going to go to decision. So we have 8 rounds, 2 minutes per round. So I mean, it's not going to be difficult to get to those 8 rounds, and that's probably because of Mike Tyson's, you know, age and health. They're probably trying to make sure that he doesn't gas out too easily, so he doesn't get knocked out as easily as he might if he was fighting 12 3-minute rounds or something like that, like a normal match. So, you know, either way, it's a spectacle. Yes, either way, you know, it's a fight, and let's hope and we're gonna see if someone's gonna really go for it. I feel like Jake Paul has something to prove, but I mean, these guys are they're cool with each other. Like, that's the thing. Mike Tyson put Jake Paul on his undercard for the Roy Jones Jr. fight back in the day to start off Jake Paul's like true boxing career. So he's already said, I put Jake Paul on and I can take him out. So that's his claim. At the press conference yesterday, he had nothing to say. He was straight dead faced. He told some lady to shut up in the because she was like, well, if you win, he's what I'm here to win. That's what I'm here to do. Just starts yelling at her. And you know, he's just being intense, right? Really no answers for any questions. He just kind of sat there, and he almost looked like he was confused, man. I was a little bit worried about that, but I'm like, is he just dialed in and this is his dialed in, as opposed to back in the day where it was like you could hear him breathing because he was so like amped up and ready to go. So maybe this is a new way of him kind of holding his composure, because Jake Paul was talking mad shit like he always does. That's what Jake Paul does. He talks shit. So he was relentless with the shit talking. And Mike barely answered any questions. Everything was short, to the point, or barely acknowledged. And of course, Jake talked shit afterwards, saying, oh, yep, he's sitting up there. He's scared. That's why he's not saying anything. I'm carrying this card like I do always. Which, you know, Mike Perry put up he talked some shit. Let's see who else. His other opponents were just whatever. Nate Diaz usually talks a lot of shit, but you know, Jake claimed that he basically didn't do shit for the card to promote it or nothing like that. Nate can be difficult to say the least. So him and Tommy Fury had good back and forth, but Tommy Fury's not good at talking shit, really. So there wasn't much there. So basically, Jake is always the one talking the most. And I think even if his opponent was putting up a good word game out there, I still think Jake would be considered, you know, to be carrying the card with the promotion. It's his promotion. And on top of that, he just never stops. So I don't know that there's too many people that are going to match that energy. So it is what it is, right? So that's what's happening here. Those are the rules. It is a heavyweight bout. We got the super lightweight bout between Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano that we'll be looking at. It's a championship belt to It's for Katie Taylor's IBF, WBA, WBC, and WBO super lightweight titles. We have a WBC welterweight title fight, Mario Barrios and Abel Ramos. Super middleweight, Niraj Goyat versus Winderson Nunez. Holy shit. There's a vacant women's WBO super middleweight title. Shadeja Green versus Melinda Watpool. And then a couple other fights. I don't know who the fuck those people are. So there's a few title fights on here. And, you know, everyone was asking what the undercard was going to look like. There it is. I mean, there's not a whole lot there. The co-main event of Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano is going to be super fucking interesting and always worth watching any of their fights. So, all right. So I did see that right. Looks like, ooh, yeah. Looks like it looks like Mike Tyson slapped Jake Paul at the weigh-ins, which I did not catch that. So, and it was a legit slap because Jake Paul's face pretty much got turned. But of course he played it off by just, you know, putting his face, acting like it didn't matter. But, you know, is it to sell the fight? Who knows? Either way, Mike Tyson doesn't look like the type to be slapping people mostly. I think he would rather punch somebody, but he's been kind of playing it up a bit on that side. He pushed Jake at one of the press conference, you know, face-offs. So who knows? I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen tomorrow because, I mean, it's exciting. It's exciting to me because, you know, growing up, Mike Tyson was the shit, regardless of any of his outside antics. In the cage, in the ring, he was a fucking animal and a beast, and you couldn't fuck with him. And, you know, even though he got knocked out against Buster Douglas or whatever, it was still fun watching him fight all the time. I just remember people bitching and complaining about the fact that his fights would only last seconds instead of rounds, because he would knock people out in the first few seconds of the first round, shit like that. I mean, all the stuff that Mike Tyson has done, to be here at 58, he looks good, he looks healthy, and he looks fast. Looks like he still has power. You know, they say that the power is the last to go with age, so he's got to still have some, you know, he's still got to pack a punch there, and we'll see what he can do against Jake Paul, who's much younger, obviously, but Jake's been doing big things in his career. Leading up to this, of course, he fought former MMA fighters that are either retired or just haven't really been doing much fighting. And Tyron Woodley is one of those guys. He fought Tyron twice, and the first time, you know, Tyron got the best of him here and there. He landed some strikes strikes. I'm still talking like it's MMA. He landed some good punches, some good combos on him. He threw him back into the ropes at one point, and, you know, followed up with a little barrage here and there. But in the end, Jake Paul got the decision win in that first fight. And then in the second fight, because he was supposed to be fighting, I think, Rockman at that point, and he pulled out. So Tyron last minute came in for the replacement, and then he gets knocked the fuck out. So that's a damn shame. That was a big knockout here, as you can see. Face first, flat on the canvas. Jake Paul walks away with that big knockout win over Tyron Woodley, who's considered, you know, one of the great strikers in MMA. But yeah, he was retired already for a while, little bit older. That's the thing that everyone says. Why are you fighting all these older, you know, washed up MMA fighters? And I put that in quotes because I don't think Nate Diaz is washed up. I think he's at the end of his career for sure. But, you know, speaking of Jake versus Nate, that happened as well. And he did, you know, get a knockdown against Nate Diaz, which everyone was kind of surprised by because Nate has a good chin. He can take a lot of punches. He takes a lot to give a lot, you know, usually punches and bunches. He did not look good in this fight. I'm a huge Diaz fan, but unfortunately in this fight he did not look good, and it didn't look like he belonged in that ring. I wouldn't count him out if he fought again in boxing. I think that he could do well. I just think that maybe he lost interest. Maybe he just didn't take it seriously. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happened in this fight, but you can't do that too many times, because if you keep doing that, then your reputation will be that you don't take it seriously and that you can't do any better than you're doing. So at some point you have to come in there, give it your all, and see what you can do. But unfortunately he did not do that against Jake Paul. So Jake got that knockdown on him, gets the win by decision over him, and you know, Diaz gets to walk away with a nice bag regardless of anything else. And yeah, that was it for that one. So he also had that fight against Mike Perry, which here's one that you can say, listen, he's not fighting a washed up MMA fighter because he's fighting a bare knuckle boxer. The only problem is Mike Perry didn't show much in this fight either. I mean, he did a little more than he did, a lot more actually than Nate Diaz did, but man, he couldn't hang with the boxing of Jake Paul, which some people might say that's why he sucks. I don't want to. I'm not trying to down on Mike Perry because he's a badass in bare knuckle boxing, but when you get in there with those gloves and you get in there with the rules that are different and doing something that I don't know that he had done professionally before, it's a whole different game. He's the king of violence in bare knuckle boxing, but does that carry over? I mean, we saw what happened to him in MMA. He just kept losing, couldn't put it together. The wrestling and the grappling was killing him. So he went somewhere that made sense for him. And sometimes that's what you got to do. And then you just make do and make the best of what you have there. And he's been making money. He's been making lots of money there, and that's why he stays there. He hasn't fought since this Jake Paul fight, which sucks because, you know, fucking Conor said that whole shit because Conor's a part owner now, but so is Mike Perry. Apparently has a stake in the company as well in BKFC. So he, you know, Conor goes out and says that he's fired. and the sad part is we haven't seen him fight since. But BKFC hasn't had any real big events pretty much. So maybe that's why. I don't know. They haven't found the right event, the right time to put him in there. But I'm sure we'll see him again soon. So hopefully the whole thing with Conor has blown over and we get to see Mike Perry back in BKFC, because he really does well there. He's undefeated in that ring. And the king of violence means he's got fun fights and exciting fights to watch. And you're never disappointed. It's always bloody. And he gets hit too. So I'm about to get... Here we go, Rick Allen. Back at it again. Sounds like Rick Allen and Cold Art Maker tend to make appearances at the same time. So I'm hoping that this isn't a, you know, good guy, bad guy, shadow accounts here. Both going in. But that's okay. Whatever. Hey, engagement's engagement. If you guys want to get in here and talk to me, that's cool. I'm up for it. Anyway, move. So Jake in his last fight looking like a killer. This is what he's ready for. This was the lead up because the Mike Perry fight happened because of Mike Tyson not being able to fight. So they took it from Netflix in July, moved it over to DAZN, made it a pay-per-view, and still did the fight. May not have done the numbers or anything like that the Mike Tyson. Oh, hey, Trend's in the chat. What's up, Trend? Go follow Tenet Trend on Twitch and here on YouTube as well. Tenet Trend, all over socials, same thing. She's a gamer and a streamer, and my daughter, so go check it out. Thanks for joining in, Trend. Yeah, Jake ready for this fight after fighting Mike Perry for that rescheduled fight between Mike Tyson that's happening tomorrow night. Are we gonna be able to see the Iron Mike Tyson of old? I don't know. If you look at his training, if you look at his pad work, he looks sharp, he looks fast, He still looks powerful, ferocious as all hell. But I mean, is that going to be able to carry over into the actual, boxing match where he's fighting someone so much younger, 30 years younger than him, and also, someone who's been fighting consistently for the past 30 years. He's had plenty of work in that ring, and he's been active as hell. So is Mike going to be able to come in here and do what he used to do to his opponents? I mean, if you take a look at that Roy Jones Jr. fight, he looked old and he looked slow, and unfortunately didn't look very powerful, but I think that had to do with the rules. And Roy Jones did say, though, that even though he's older and doesn't look very well when it comes to his physical image, he did say on a podcast that he never thought he'd feel a body shot like he did against Mike Tyson when he fought him. But he said it's legit. He said it's for real. And he said it's fucking painful. So, I mean, what's Mike going to do here? I hope he doesn't go swinging for the fences and Jake actually has the head movement to get out of the way and makes Mike look old and tired fast, because that would suck. I'm hoping for a competitive first round, competitive first couple rounds, and then they get down and dirty for like the third and fourth, and maybe someone gets knocked out there. That's what I'm hoping for in this fight. And if we get to see Mike Tyson just be the fucking crazy animal that he was back in the day, that would be the best case scenario here, because so many people dislike Jake Paul, and myself for a while was a huge Jake Paul hater, but he has done some good stuff in the sport. Rick Allen, man, you show your ignorance so much. About to slap that baseball cap off your head, bro. Do you ever wear anything other than baseball caps? Do you sleep in a hat? Listen, I wear hats all the time because I fucking like to, and I can. And number two, should have been number one, it's not baseball, fool. You don't know your sports, so don't speak on it. So go sleep on that and figure it out. Until you figure it out, you and Eric Nixick must be buddies. You're both grown men who wear baseball caps all the time. Just because you look stupid in a hat doesn't mean that other people can't. At least I don't wear some. Never mind. I'm not even going to go there. I don't even know who you are. And that's why it's funny that you start wearing adult clothing. Okay. This coming from a troll. This coming from a troll on YouTube. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, back to Mike Tyson. I'm hoping to see some of this action against Jake Paul. Even if he doesn't knock him out, I want to see him get hit flush with some of Mike Tyson's punches. That would be the best case scenario, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be tuning in just for that. If you look at my content on TikTok, you'll see that my Mike Tyson video got a hell of a lot more engagement over the Jake Paul one, because it's a baseball cap with a football logo. Who cares? Okay. You obviously don't care. That's why you don't know the difference. It's all right. Yeah, if you look at the content, people are big time on the Mike Tyson side. Unfortunately, that doesn't fare well all the time with the outcome of the fights. So, a lot of times the favorite is not the one that wins, and that's because everyone's tuning in to watch the other guy get knocked out. But we have so many things against Mike Tyson that, it's easy to side with him against someone like Jake Paul, but it doesn't mean that he's going to get that win. And that's the unfortunate part. But we can all hope, and we can all wait and see if that's what happens. Hopefully we don't get any of this, but it would be funny if it did happen, because Mike Tyson's already slapped the shit out of Jake Paul in the weigh-ins. But if you remember, Mike Tyson bit the ear off of Evander Holyfield. So that's something you got to remember about Mike Tyson. And is he going to get to that level? Is he going to be that crazy about this fight? Because this was him frustrated against Holyfield, not doing well in the fight, and then he pulled off this shit. So as you can see there, bit off that chunk. And, you know, of course, Jake Paul, the troll of all trolls, even though Rick Allen's a huge fucking troll, Jake Paul's a better one. So Jake Paul, being the troll that he is, wore some diamond encrusted metal fucking like little cap on his ear saying, I'm not getting my shit bit off, so I had to protect it. Obviously, can't wear that in the fight, but that was pretty funny. He wore that at the press conference. You know, Jake Paul knows how to promote. So he's good at that shit. It's pretty funny. And, you know, it's entertaining. That's what brings eyes to your content. And he knows how to do that. So, you know, let's see what happens with this fight. You can never forget Mike Tyson for his all-time, you know, legendary quotes. Everyone has a plan till they get punched in the mouth. Sounds like Rick Allen might need to read that and take it to heart a bit, because he likes to talk a lot. But anyway, Mike Tyson with those quotes. He said in the Netflix kind of lead up countdown type show that they did, he said that Jake Paul was a manufactured killer, that basically showing his age, but he said the papers and TV made him a killer, but Mike Tyson's a natural born killer. And he said that shit with a look in his eye that looked like the Mike Tyson of old. So that was pretty entertaining, and that's exciting to hear him say some shit like that. So as you can see, Jake Paul's a little bit taller, but Mike Tyson looks pretty good for his age. 58 years old, still ripped, in good shape. Hopefully his health holds up. Hopefully his cardio holds up, and I'm hoping just for a good fight here. I think it's going to go to decision, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I wouldn't be surprised if Jake Paul takes this win, but I would love to, as well as the rest of the world, would probably love to see Mike Tyson get a win in there against Jake Paul. So don't forget, tomorrow night happening on Netflix. So if you already have it, you ain't got to pay nothing. Just tune in. Co-main event of that fight, Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano. Katie Taylor kind of on the last legs of her career here. She's been around for a long time, but she's one of those fighters that have done a lot for women's boxing. Amanda Serrano coming in, Puerto Rican fighter, fiery as all hell. And Jake Paul took her under his wing and has basically been, you know, promoting the hell out of her and getting her paid. And you can't argue with that, especially when she's down to fight 3-minute rounds. Usually the women fight 2-minute rounds. She's always wanting it to be 3-minute rounds and going 10 rounds instead of 8. But I believe this one's going to be 10 2-minute rounds. There was some kind of, I guess, there was some kind of confusion about that in the contracts. That's what I'm trying to say. So not having the 3-minute rounds, but I still think, just like last time, it was a war. Katie Taylor, legendary. She's been around for a long time, and if you know anything about women's boxing, you know Katie Taylor. So she hits hard, and she wins big. So again, with these big punches here, and then the punches she landed on Amanda Serrano back in that fight a few years ago, definitely going to be a good one here. I'm excited for this fight as well, and I'll be, I think I missed something. That's all right. I'll definitely be looking for, let me double check something here, because I think I screwed something up. I see what I did. Okay, cool. So I didn't mess it up. I found it. There we go. But I also think that now I have to change something else. So I'm going to go and double check that too. Because there's nothing like fucking up on a live show. But it happens a lot. It is what it is. Anyway, this is from their last fight together, that Katie Taylor wound up winning by decision, and a lot of people thought that Amanda Serrano should have taken that fight, including, of course, Jake Paul. So they're doing it again, and we'll see what Amanda has to give in this fight to make it more of a definitive win for her, so she doesn't get robbed again, since she feels that that's what happened in the first fight. And you know, she definitely has the skills to do it. She's a heavy puncher as well, puts together some good strikes, and I think her and Katie Taylor are due for a good trilogy. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Serrano pull this one out and then have another fight down the road, because their fights have been big so far, and I think that it's going to happen again here. So it'll be exciting to see this for the co-main event. A lot of people were thinking that this should have been the main event. Heard a lot of talk about that, because this is more of a legit fight. This is more stakes on this fight and all that shit. But you know, a lot of times the men come above the women when it comes to a sport like boxing. And of course, being Jake Paul's promotion and everything like that, and Mike Tyson being the opponent of his, such a big name, such an iconic, legendary name, of course they're going to be the main event. So I'm not sure why anybody thought it'd be different. But yeah, once again, tomorrow night, happening on Netflix. Don't forget to watch. It's going to be some good entertaining stuff before you get to UFC 309, which we will touch on that here in a few. So for now, let's move over to UFC Vegas 100. Neil Magny versus Prates. I don't know why the hell I just spaced his first name. Carlos Prates. Yeah, like I said before, this was a better card than it has been, because there wasn't as many decisions. There's been so many fucking decisions in all the cards leading up, you know, in even UFC 308, so many fucking decisions all over the place. A lot of people are chalking that up to the new gloves, thinking that I mean, the KOs has definitely gone down, considering if you look at the stats. Some people on Twitter and stuff have put together some stats about the the decrease in knockouts and finishes in all these fights since the gloves have taken place, and it's pretty damning, which we'll find out in a few that these gloves might not be used in this next event. So, but for UFC Vegas 100, they definitely were used, and we got a little bit of a different outcome. I'm talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had 5 of the first 5 fights in the prelims were all finishes, which was pretty goddamn exciting, because we haven't had that in a while. So Melissa Mullins versus Claudia Sigala. Boxing is a joke nowadays. I can understand why you would say that. I feel like it's making a bit of Master Shanchi, maybe. Sorry if I fucked up your name, my bad. But yeah, he says boxing is a joke nowadays. I understand why you would say that, but I do feel like there's a bit of a resurgence. I mean, it's starting to come back a little bit. These fucking YouTube fights with Jake Paul, he's fighting professional fights, but he's bringing some eyes back to the sport. So I give him a little bit of credit for that. But yeah, boxing isn't what it used to be. But I feel like there's been a lot more interest going on. I've been paying a little bit more attention to boxing lately, because you know there's been some pretty decent fights going on. Like, it's not like MMA where I pay attention to the undercard. I know everybody fighting, but you know, the main events have been fairly entertaining, and there's been some big fights, you know, even with the crossover stuff with let me take that back. No worries. Hey, I understand the feelings on both sides, you know, and I can understand why people actual boxing has been great. Yeah, for sure. That's what I'm saying too. Actual boxing has been pretty great. I understand the crossover stuff, people not liking, you know, the purists out there for the sport. Circus boxing though is messing it up. No, I get that too, because everybody correlates all of it. They think, oh, because this YouTuber's fighting this fucking social media guy, that all of a sudden boxing's a joke. You know, real boxing is still legit. But there's always been problems in boxing, with the judging, with the corruption, with the fixing, all that shit. So boxing has its problems for sure, but MMA does as well. Either way, combat sports are fun, and I prefer to watch those over anything. But I like other sports, I like football, I like baseball, but nothing's as fun as watching two people beat the shit out of each other. It's just too entertaining. So yeah, I understand the feelings on both sides of that with boxing. So no worries, man. I fully hear you, and I understand. So back to MMA though, back to UFC Vegas 100. Like I said, Melissa Mullins versus Claudia Sigala. Usyk versus Fury 2 is going to be fire. Yes, I am definitely excited for that one. That'll be a fun one for sure. Gotta love those rematches. Yeah, but in this one, Melissa Mullins gets the win. It was a catchweight fight at 137. She gets a TKO by punches, gets Sigala to the ground, finishes her off with some ground and pound, and gets the win in the second round to start off the prelims. So good way to start those prelims off there. We had Tracian Gore versus Antonio Tricoli in the middleweight division for the men, and Gore just did what he does, standing guillotine. It's happened before and it happened again. First round guillotine submission for Tracian Gore in the middleweight division. 1 minute and 23 seconds in, Tricoli fell right into it, couldn't get out. Gore has crazy physique and some strength in those arms, so he was able to get, even though Tricoli was taller than him, he was able to get him down low enough to be able to sink that choke in. And yeah, like Dustin Poirier says, if when in doubt, jump the gilly. And yeah, Tracian Gore did that. So moving on to Damon Blackshear versus Cody Stamann in the men's bantamweight division. If my stream deck would work, that'd be cool. Damon Blackshear gets the win by rear naked choke in the first round, 4 minutes and 19 seconds in. Stamann just looked overwhelmed by what Blackshear was throwing at him. Blackshear caught him, was able to get him to the ground, and as you can see, takes his back and fully extends him. Blackshear's definitely underrated, I think, as well. Everyone was talking about how Cody Stamann should be able to just run through him. At least those were the things I was hearing. But Blackshear, I wasn't even aware of him until earlier this year. And man, he's been super impressive in his past few fights. So I'm definitely going to be looking out for his next fight. That big punch to the chin there on Stamann, and then getting that rear naked choke sunk in. And it just looks strong. So good to see Blackshear getting that win in the first round. Then we move on to Chuck Buffalo, Charlie Radke versus Matthew Semmelsberger. We get Semmelsberger gets the loss here by TKO. Charlie Radke just fucking went at him. Didn't give him a chance. Didn't give him a shot. Just fucking 51 seconds in, totally and completely overwhelms him, demolishes him, and fucking finishes him on his hands and knees, basically, with some huge punches, and takes out Semmelsberger in that welterweight fight there. That brings us to the fifth finish in a row. Hyped for MVP versus Shara. Yeah, I heard about that one too. Holy shit. I don't know how Shara Bullett's gonna handle. Yeah, Semmelsberger. He looked old in this fight for sure. He did not look like he knew what to do with Charlie Radke. That was a tough one for him. But I don't know how Shara Bullett's gonna handle MVP, because MVP kind of has a similar fight style and a similar build, I guess you could say, to Shara Bullet. And Shara just his fight IQ is not the best, and I feel like MVP has enough experience in there to really do some damage against Shara Bullet. So I don't know, I guess we'll see. I think that's happening in February, if I remember correctly, but that was just announced this week, so that's going to be a good one. I think it was 100% confirmed, but I don't fully remember at the moment. Let's move over to Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos versus Zach Scroggin. This was another first round finish. I mean, all of these except for that first fight were 4 first round finishes in a row. Pretty goddamn good. Like I said, to start off a prelim card, usually don't get that many finishes in a prelim, especially first round finishes. They were definitely struggling to take up some time in between this on the broadcast because of all these first round finishes. But Dos Santos versus Scroggin, first round finish. I heard Vegas 100 was going to be the last Apex card for a long time. Yeah, so apparently they're doing some kind of remodel, some kind of revamp, and it might have to do, but here's the thing. I just heard that Mikey Musumeci got signed to some kind of grappling event that's happening in the Apex soon. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I don't know if they're getting it ready for some kind of to go to the panel a lot. Yeah, for sure. I don't know if they're gonna revamp it to have different kind of events there, or maybe they're gonna open it up, because I mean, it's basically like a fucking warehouse, right? I mean, that's what it was before it was the Apex. So I would assume maybe they're gonna open it up to have more fans in there, so people can stop bitching like me, because I bitch about it all the time. It just seems weird to only have like 100 people there, if that. But yeah, let's hope that this is the last Apex event for a while, because it's just way better with the crowd. It's way better with the crowd and going to other locations. It reminds, yeah, definitely COVID times. I mean, we were thankful for it back then, right? Because they were even having numbered. How quiet is it in the Apex? It's pretty fucking quiet from everything I've seen. Just because when you can hear the coaches, every fucking instruction that a coach yells, you can hear it clearly. That there's not a lot of people in there. Come on. And you know, when the fights are not exciting, it's like dead quiet. So it's crazy. And you know, the good thing is you can hear all the strikes, all the contact of the punches and the kicks. But man, it sucks for vibes. You know what I mean? Like, that is just not a lot going on there. It just doesn't feel right. So when you get exciting fights happening, people with crazy big knockouts and shit, yeah, that was fun. COVID time, at least we had fights going, but we don't need that anymore. So let's get the crowds involved. Let's have the crowds there. What are we doing? But I mean, I've beaten this subject to death. But again, at least the fights are happening. The Apex's cage is also a lot smaller. Yeah, and I mean, that's something that they dealt with back in the day too. Like fight nights, where the cage was always smaller than during the pay-per-views, depending on the venue they were at and everything like that. But yeah, the Apex is smaller, and that's something that takes that's something that is of importance during these fights, because the bigger cage means, you know, people can run away or get away a lot more. The smaller cages are usually thinking that there's more action, but it hinders people more as well. So they all have their ups and downs, but I guess we'll see what happens now that that Vegas 100 is over. We'll see what kind of events we get coming up this next year. But sounds like they're not going to have any there for a little bit. And so we'll see if it comes back. But back to this, Dos Santos versus Scroggin. Dos Santos gets a first round finish, minute 15 seconds in, by TKO. As you can see, ground and pound, finished him off there. And that, let's see, what was the other? Oh, so the first decision of the night in the prelims was the final fight of the prelims. Denise Gomes versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz win all 3 rounds. Unanimous decision win there for Gomes, which I kind of thought was going to be how that wound up, because Kowalkiewicz is not the type of girl to deal with a heavy-handed puncher like Gomes. So she tends to not to do well against opponents like that. So she did get that unanimous decision loss to Gomes in that strawweight women's fight. Prates reminds me of a young Anderson Silva. Yeah. I've heard that before. Some other people said that as well, and I can see it. That's definitely a good one there. Prates got that link to him. Yeah, and what he did to Magny, we'll get to that here in a minute. But yeah, what he did to Magny was fucking disrespectful, but exciting. The first fight of the main card, Mansour Abdul Malik versus Dusko Todorovic. Another first round finish here in the middleweight division. We had I think I don't know if it's Malik or Malik. I think it's Malik, if I remember what they said. Prates definitely has power, and he showed that in this fight. But Malik TKO by knee and punches. He landed this knee, as you can see in that top picture. Follows it up with some big punches. Gets a TKO win in the middleweight division over Dusko Todorovic. Big ground and pound there, as you can see. Look at his fist into that face. That's a nasty fucking picture. And I mean nasty in a good way, but holy shit. That guy was on Dana White's Contender Series. Yep. He definitely showed out in this one. Good way to start the main card. Then we get to a couple decisions in a row here. Jillian Robertson versus Luana Pinheiro. Luana Pinheiro, holy shit. I don't know if you saw the weigh-ins. If you go to her Instagram page, you'll see what I'm talking about. Goddamn. But Jillian Robertson has that really good fucking jiu-jitsu on the ground. Her grappling is great, and she's got the strikes to back it all up. So as you can see, her showcasing that here in these pictures with this front kick and then the ground and pound. You know, Jillian Robertson did her thing in this one. Pinheiro overwhelmed, couldn't handle all of what Robertson was giving to her. Some more ground and pound here with that full mount. You know, with Pinheiro turtling up like that, I'm surprised it didn't get called at that point. But Jillian Robertson gets the win in the strawweight division by unanimous decision. The next, let's see, this is only the third decision, the third and last decision of this entire card, which is insane because pretty much we were getting like 2 or 3 finishes in the past few cards, and the rest were decisions. And in this one, we finally got only 3 decisions and the rest were finishes, which is awesome. Makes for a good night. Bolanos looking like Topuria. He really fucking does, man. I was looking through some pictures of him and I almost wanted to grabbing some pics that were Topuria. But I mean, I don't think he's at the level of Topuria at all. But I mean, he gets the win here by unanimous decision over Cortavius Romeus, I think is how you say it. But yeah, man, if he could start fighting like Topuria, he's definitely got some wind underneath him there. But in this fight, I don't think he really lived up to that, but he did well enough to get that unanimous decision win for him. Moving over to the co-main, Rainier de Ritter versus Gerald Meerschaert. So RDR came over from One Championship, and he was a 2-division champion over there. Looked like a beast. Definitely a fucking animal on the ground. Lots of submission wins for him. And, you know, but he's got the striking as well, as you could see in that top picture with that big left against GM3. He did wind up getting the arm triangle choke in the 3rd round. But, man, this was a fun fight. And that was a great debut for RDR. Getting the big win like that. Of course, signature submissions for him. That's what you can expect out of him. But he's definitely entertaining on the feet, too, especially if someone's willing to go toe-to-toe with him. But the Ritter should fight Michael Pineda. Oh yeah, Michelle Pineda. That would be tough. Because I think RDR can handle him, because Pineda has crazy dynamic striking and it's just wild. Yeah, De Ritter's from One Championship, exactly. Which that's what I'm getting to here. He put out a warning to all the fighters out there, saying this is something I feel I have to do for other fighters. If you're thinking of signing with One Championship, don't. It's that simple. You should not. There's nothing there. There's no fights. You're just wrong if you do this. If you sign there, this is a bad mistake. Which, that's damning for One Championship, because for a while there, it looked like they were going to be a good number 2 organization to the UFC. You know, they mix it up. They have Muay Thai. They have grappling. They have Muay Thai, kickboxing, grappling, MMA. They do all kinds of shit over there, but I kind of think that's a bit much for the fan base. I mean, it works well in Singapore and in the Asian countries where they're into all that, and it's all those sports are a lot bigger over there. But it didn't do that well in the US, from what I understand. They did put on some big events. You know, they had fucking Eddie Alvarez for a while. They had Demetrius Johnson, you know, Mighty Mouse. He just retired, and it sounded like he was having some problems like these other people have started reporting lately. There's been a lot of guys just leaving one championship, like Mikey Musumeci, who was doing really well in their grappling division over there, couldn't be beat. But it sounds like they're getting weird with the money. RDR says that they're pretty much trying to, you're like signing your life away when you sign with one championship. They act like they own you for the rest of your entire life. So they make it difficult to get out of the organization and move over to do something different. Now, a lot of people say that about the UFC as well, but as soon as you start not serving the UFC like they want you to, they get rid of you. They're like, fuck off. We got like so many people in line waiting. But yeah, the Ritter definitely firing shots out there and telling the truth. And I think it's beneficial for the people that are thinking about going over to one championship. But this sucks because there's very few organizations that are legit that other fighters can go to. You know, especially if they can't, you know, if they fall on hard times in the UFC, they'll get rid of you. Like I said, 2-3 fights in a row, lost, you're gone. Especially if you don't have a big name, especially if you're not doing anything for them. So then you don't have any options. You know, Bellator's gone now. It's basically PFL, even though they still use the Bellator name. So you either go to PFL or you go to ONE. There's not much else. Ryzen's out there, but that's how much do you hear about Ryzen? And now that ONE has all this going on and people like RDR are in here telling you don't fucking sign there, you're seeing all these big names with this kind of mass exodus out of one championship. It's tough, man. Can only imagine what's happening there. So they need to turn it around. They need to get better, and they need to keep that organization going and going in the right direction and being fair to these fighters. Apparently the weight cutting shit that they had going on there, where they're also checking your hydration and stuff so you're not dehydrating. Everyone's learned how to defeat that now, so it's not such a problem anymore. But still, they make it an issue. Rodtang just lost his title because of a weight cutting incident. Didn't make weight, failed a hydration test, I guess. So yeah, it sucks, man. It sucks. But for this being the co-main event, because Cody Garbrandt had to pull out due to an injury. He was gonna fight Miles Johns. That was your initial co-main event in this card, and that fell through, just like a lot of other fights have recently. But yeah, for this being the co-main, it was a good one. So that brings us to the main event. Carlos Prates, everyone's been talking about in the chat. Yeah, he did a big thing against Neil Magny. Now, it didn't really look, everyone was kind of like confused about what happened with this because it was such a quick punch and it looked like he barely clipped him or barely grazed him, and Neil Magny went out like a fucking, like he just got shot in the head. But that just proves the power of Prates. Like everyone was saying, HR07 was saying in the chat, and Master was agreeing that, you know, that power of Prates is nothing to be fucked with. And I think he's going to be doing big things here coming soon, especially winning in this main event against a big name like Neil Magny. Prates got that big power for sure, especially for his size. I mean, Neil Magny's a vet. He's never really been known to be a huge power fighter. Never really involved in big, exciting fights, but this was way above his level of being able to take that kind of power for a hit and survive it. And yeah, he showed his age and he showed his I don't even know what else you can say about that, except, you know, he's got good experience and everything like that in the cage. And, you know, he's a big name that everyone recognizes, but he always seems to fall short, especially against a fighter like Prates. And Prates has big things coming for him because he's definitely going to get a step up in competition in his next fight. So, and that does it for UFC Vegas 100. Again, like we've been talking about this whole time, you know, probably one of the last Apex events we see in a while. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I'd prefer that. We'll see if they bring it back to more fight nights there or not. Definitely a good backup in case other shit happens, but What's this? I hope MVP comes back to welterweight so they can book Prates. Man, that would be a fucking hell of a fight. MVP versus Prates. Yeah, that'd be a good one. I think Prates would. I think he would work MVP. Honestly, I don't think MVP. He's similar in some ways to Neil Magny. He's definitely got better striking, but I just don't think he has what it takes to overcome Prates, and I also don't think he could take the power that Prates puts out there. So, but yeah, he just said, or she, I'm sorry, whoever, Evangelista says, I got Prates. Same here, bro. Same here. Let's move on to the final topic of the night. UFC 309, what we've all been waiting for. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Now, I'm going to knock on some fucking wood here and say, thank God this has not been riddled with injuries. Big events like this tend to have problems like that, especially when we have such a big main event that everyone's been waiting to see. Jon Jones versus Stipe to see who's the real heavyweight GOAT, because right now Jon Jones is considered the GOAT of MMA, period, right? You know, Dana White with the glazing constantly just doesn't stop talking about how Jon Jones is the GOAT. We get it, bro. We get it. But you know, he got injured after beating Cyril Gane in the lead up to the initial fight with Miocic. So, you know, injured his shoulder, had to have surgery. So it's been a year since that was supposed to happen, and now we're back. Stipe's back. I want to say in the press conference, Stipe looked a little bit like Mike Tyson, like out of sorts. What kind of GOAT ducks the interim champ? See, that's the other thing. I understand why they made this fight, but I do think that he should have fought Aspinall. Unfortunately for him, that's an asterisk here. Whether he wins or loses, that's gonna always be there, especially if he wins. And if he wins and retires and doesn't ever fight, not Stipe, but Aspinall, that no one's ever gonna let that go. Yeah, people are trolling the fuck out of him for not fighting Aspinall, but you know what, Stipe, he's that guy. This is supposed to be his last fight. If he wins here, who knows? I think he'll still put up another fight and try to defend at least once before he walks away. But he's definitely, I mean, he's been out for fucking 4 years. But you know, as you can see here, 2 division champion for Jon Jones, most championship fight wins, most light heavyweight title defenses, and Stipe, 2-time heavyweight champion, most heavyweight title fight KOs, most heavyweight title fight defenses. So quack quack, that's all I gotta say for Jones. I hear you, man. I hear you. People sleeping on Stipe. Yeah. I feel the same way. I do feel like everyone's counting Stipe out like he's nothing. Now, he hasn't fought in 4 years, basically. I understand that. You know, he's just out there fighting fires instead of fighting people. But that's what he does. That's what he's always done. He's always been a firefighter while he's been fighting. So, you know, he just keeps doing what he does, and there hasn't been a reason for him to come back, really. He was contemplating retirement. Now he's got a chance to fight Jon Jones, get that bag, possibly get his belt back. You know, he's got every chance in the world to do something big here, and a lot of people can win a lot of big money if they bet on Stipe. The odds aren't crazy, but everyone is definitely counting Stipe out. Because Jon Jones is the GOAT, right? That's what everybody says. But is he the heavyweight GOAT? Because for the longest time, that's all anyone's ever said about Stipe, that he's the heavyweight GOAT. So what's going to happen here is the big question. How's Stipe going to fight after not being in there for so long? John called out Derek Lewis and Jamal Hill. What the fuck? I didn't hear that. But I didn't think he was calling anybody out at the moment, honestly. Everything I've heard him say is that he's just focused on this Stipe fight. And I did hear him call Tom Aspinall an asshole, and basically said that he's full of shit and he doesn't owe him anything. But, you know, that's just talk. But yeah, at the bottom of this card in the prelims, oh shit, before I move to the prelims, they're going back to the old gloves for this fight, which I thought was strange. for multiple reasons. Dana said Jones has to fight Aspinall if he beats Stipe, so he probably retires. Yeah, Dana did say that, because everyone keeps asking him, what's gonna happen with Aspinall if Jon wins, and he said, and Jon was saying he wants to fight Alex Pereira, if he wins this one, but he's also said that he would relinquish the belt. He also said that he doesn't need any more belts. He said he just wants to fight fun fights, super fights. So I mean, a fight with Pereira would be a super fight. So if Pereira's cool with not fighting for a title, to become a third division title winner, that could be a fun fight. And if Jon's willing to relinquish that belt, everyone's still going to talk about how he's ducking Aspinall, though. I think he needs to fight Aspinall, and that's the only way he's going to get away respectably, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, him calling Tom Aspinall an asshole was weird. I don't get it. Maybe he knows something we don't, but Jon Jones is an asshole. So who knows? But yeah, so they're going back to the old gloves. A lot of upset people with the new gloves because of the decrease in finishes and all the fights and all that shit up until this past, fight night from last week. Everything has been different. So they're going back to the old gloves, and everyone's speculating whether this is because this is what Jon Jones wants, because obviously Jon Jones likes to eye poke, and according to what everyone has said, the new gloves are supposed to stop the eye pokes. This is just speculation. I'm just saying this is what's been said. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, if Jon Jones asked for the old gloves, I don't know why they wouldn't let him have it. Maybe Stipe wants the old gloves because he's never fought in the new gloves either. Jones got to get them eye pokes in. Yep. But Stipe eye poked the fuck out of Daniel Cormier too. So, but he hasn't done it nearly as much as Jon has. So I don't know what the reasoning for the old gloves coming back. Maybe it's because they realize that there's some kind of issue with the new gloves that stops a lot of the finishes. Maybe they're going to revamp them and bring them back. I don't know. A lot of speculation on that. That just came out recently. Ariel Helwani is the only one that's talked about it, really. The UFC hasn't even really talked about it, even though they showed Jon in the embedded trying on the old glove. But who knows? Anyway, in the prelims, we got Veronica Hardy, the wife of Dan Hardy, former UFC fighter, fighting Eduarda Mora in the women's flyweight division to start off the prelims. Basil Hafez versus Oban Elliott in the welterweight division. That should be a good fight. Mickey Gall coming back. Hasn't fought since he fought this year. He fought in June. That's right. Before that. So he fought Basil Hafez, who's fighting on this card as well, and he lost to him. Mickey Gall's on a 3-fight losing streak. Before that, he hadn't fought since 22. That's what I was thinking of. But coming back anyway since June against Ramiz Brahimaj in the welterweight division. We got Marcin Tybura, who just fought recently, versus Jonata Deniz, who was supposed to fight Derek Lewis a couple weeks ago, and Derek Lewis had to pull out of that fight. Deniz is 8-0, undefeated in the heavyweight division, versus Marcin Tybura, who's 25-9. That could be a fun fight, or it could be a very boring one. Either way, that's happening. And then we got David Onama versus Roberto Romero in the featherweight division. Onama's pretty good. Not sure about Romero, so who knows? But we got a fun fight in the lightweight division after that. Jim fucking Miller. Krylov's fight got canceled. Yeah, I know, that sucks. I forgot about that. But not too many canceled fights on this card, thankfully. But Jim fucking Miller versus Damon Jackson in the lightweight division. Damon Jackson comes out like a bat out of hell, so that's kind of tough for Jim Miller because he's not usually a fast starter. So this could be tough for Jim Miller, especially taking that KO versus King Green Lee. Why did I say Lee? But against Bobby Green, basically. In his last fight at UFC 300. So had some time to recover from that one. Veronica's got it going on. Oh, Veronica Hardy. Yeah, she's Yeah, she's a good one. But Jim Miller versus Damon Jackson in the lightweight division, that should be a fun one. Chris Weidman coming back to New York, fighting Eric Anders. I don't think Chris Weidman does very well when it comes to New York or New Jersey or anywhere where in the area where he's from. So this is a tough one. Not sure what Weidman's going to do. He hasn't looked that great in his past. Well, I mean, he looked okay versus Tavares until he didn't. I mean, he got his last win over Bruno Silva. That was a technical decision. Weidman going to use them eye pokes. Yeah, that was what happened in that last fight, was the eye poke shit. I mean, how many? 3 times, I think. Yeah, he channeled his Jon Jones. But against Eric Anders is a beast. He's tough. So I don't know. This is tough for Weidman. I hate to see him go down back into the losing column and losing again, especially getting knocked out, because he got knocked out so many times in a row a while back. So yeah, not sure what to think there, but you got that fight in the middleweight division as well. And then Jonathan Martinez versus Marcus McGee in the bantamweight division. That should be a fun one. And that brings us to the main card. Here we go with Mauricio Rufy versus James Yontop. Man, I feel like this is going to be a good one, but Rufy is fucking crazy. What do you call it? Favored in this fight. I mean, he's 10-1 overall, 1-0 in the UFC, but he's been pretty fucking impressive. I'm trying to look up the odds real quick because I had them. McGee looks like a GTA character. Yeah, he does. That fucking hair and his face definitely looks like a GTA character. I think I've seen multiple GTA characters that look along that line. Minus 900 to a plus 600 for Rufy over Yontop. So that's crazy. But with only one fight in the UFC too, but he looks like a beast, man. And 10-1 in KO TKOs, and he's 0-0 in subs and decisions. Coming off that one win, but obviously he has more than that outside of the UFC. Part of that Fighting Nerds team, which Pratis is from too. So there's some fucking animals over on that team, man. They definitely have a good team going on over there, and a good dynamic. So Yontop is 14-4 overall, 0-2 in the UFC. I mean, come on. You're putting him against somebody like Rufy. I mean, I know he only has one fucking win, but Jesus. 7-0 in KO TKOs though. Rufy fights like young Connor. Yeah, I can see that. I just hope he doesn't go down the same path as Connor. Hopefully he keeps that going and looks good instead of doing what Connor did. But 7-0 in KO TKOs for Yontop, 1-2 in subs, and 6-2 by decision. Like I said, 0-2 in the UFC, so he's on a 2-fight losing streak there. But let's see, Rufy's first win in the UFC was over Jamie Malarkey, TKO by punches in the first round. Jesus Christ, man. His entire record is nothing but TKOs. Even his loss is a KO. So he's done nothing else. That's how you get exciting fights. So definitely one to look at here. Yontop is on a 2-fight losing streak, like I said, against Vorishlev Borshev and Chris Padilla. That was a decision loss to Borshev and a submission by rear naked choke against Padilla. Before that, he was on a hell of a win streak. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 fight win streak before he got to the UFC. Now, that's in an organization called FFC and UWC. So, I mean, definitely different level of competition here in the UFC. So let's see if he can break into that win column with a win over Rufy. Master says Rufy's got underrated kicks. Yeah, okay. I don't doubt that at all. Especially with that Connor fighting style. You know they got those kicks. But we'll see what happens with this fight. Good one to start off the main card. Moving over to the women's flyweight division. We have Vivian Araujo versus Karine Silva. Araujo's 19-4 overall, 4-0 in the UFC, 8-1 by KO TKO, 9-2 by sub, 1-1 in decisions. She's on a 4-fight win streak in the UFC because she has not been defeated yet. Karine Silva, who is actually the favorite in this fight, even though Araujo is undefeated. Shit, I lost track. Okay, I screwed up here. Hold on. She's not undefeated. How did I mess that one up? I don't know. Either way, Araujo's coming off a loss to Natalia Silva. My bad, I screwed that one up. I think I might have got these backwards. Did I? I did. That's what happened. How did I do that? I don't know. But I got these backwards. So basically, Silva is the undefeated fighter, 4-0, and Araujo is 6-5 in the UFC. So yeah, I fucked that one up, but no big deal. I bet Aspinall's gonna go in the cage after the main event. That would be sick. That would be a good way to promote a fight and kind of force Jon Jones to get into the mode of yeah, pretty much thinking he needs to fight him. So that'd be good. But Karine Silva, Ariana Lipski, Marina Moroz, Ketlin Souza, and Poliana Botello are her 4 wins in the UFC. So yeah, this should be a good one. Like I said, Silva's the who's more likely to retire, Jon or Stipe? I think if Stipe wins, he's probably more likely to retire than Jon. I think Jon usually once they go in the cage, they do fight. I don't know that that's 100% true, but I think it leans more towards being true than not. So yeah, you're right. But now Jon Jones gonna keep quacking. Yeah, that ducking shit is gonna follow him for a while unless he actually fights Aspinall next. Anyway, Araujo is the underdog here against Karine Silva. This should be a good one, but you know how the women's fights go. A lot of times there's a lot of decisions. But Silva's a big submission artist. So let's see, she had 4 fights in a row winning by submission since she fought on Dana White's Contender Series. Her last win being by decision. So we'll see how this one works out. Moving over to the next fun fight, Bo Nickel versus Paul Craig. Bo Nickel is a gigantic fucking favorite in this fight. 6-0 overall, 3-0 in the UFC, 2 by KO, TKO, 4 by sub, no decisions, never gone to decision. He's on that 3-fight win streak, technically 6. Fighting Paul Craig, who is a submission artist of his own because he's got those 13 wins by submission, 2 losses only by submission, 4-5 by KO, TKO. He's 5-6 in the UFC, 17-8 overall. I mean, this is a hell of a mismatch. I think they just put him together because Paul Craig is that submission artist and Bo Nickel's good with the wrestling, grappling. Again, has submissions of his own. Obviously, he's 4-0 in submissions there. Most of his wins have come by that. So I think that's what they're doing here, giving him a bit of a name. You know, Paul Craig has multiple wins by armbar where he snaps people's arms, including former heavyweight champion Jamal Hill. So, or light heavyweight, I'm sorry. That's what I meant. But yeah, so I think that's what they're aiming for here, looking at it being a wrestling, grappling, submission type game. Either way, I think it's going to be exciting because Paul Craig, he goes out there to fight regardless of whether he's getting his ass whooped or not, you know. But Bo Nickel has been a savage, and you know, beating Cody Brundage, that TKO win over Valentine Woodburn, even though Woodburn's not much of a name. You know, he got that submission win over Jamie Pickett, even though there was the whole, you know, crotch kick thing. And then, of course, you know, fighting in Dana White's Contender Series. But I think Bo Nickel's going to come out here ready to get a big win over a bigger name than he's fought before in Paul Craig, and beating him at what he's good at, which are submissions. So Paul Craig, though, not a great record in the UFC, 5-6 overall. He's on a 2-fight losing streak, but he's lost to Brendan Allen and Kyle Borralho. Those are tough opponents, you know. He lost it to Allen by submission, lost to Borralho by KO. That was his last fight back in May. So, I mean, you don't know what you're going to get here. But like I said, there's Paul Craig on that bottom picture. You know, after he snapped Jamal Hill's arm, that was nasty with that kind of triangle / armbar. Yeah, I feel like this is going to be a good one. I totally forgot. I did make picks. I'll go over those at the end. But in this fight, I definitely went with Bo. I think I went with all the favorites because I don't. There's such a big favorite that it's hard not to go with them. But I'll go over those here in a minute. And so that brings us to the co-main event, which I'm excited for as well. Yes, we've seen it before. Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. And even though we've seen it before and we know what happened, you know, Chandler got the loss, unfortunately, against Oliveira, but he was doing work against Charles for a little while in the beginning of that fight. And you know, he felt good about what he did well in that fight. So, you know, he got tired of waiting on Conor with the 2-year fucking, hold on, I'm not ready. Hold on. My pinky toe hurts. Hold on. I got to keep drinking. So HR07 says, I got Chandler by TKO. Good possibility, man. I feel like Oliveira's out for blood, wanting to get back to that spot where he can fight for a title again and possibly get his belt back. But, you know, and Chandler's been training to fight in 170 against Conor. So now going back to 155, you know, after waiting for so long and training his body to be at 170 and then having to cut to a lower weight, which is not, you know, any cut, because it's, you know, lightweight to welterweight. That's a 15-pound difference as opposed to a normal 10-pound difference in most weight divisions. So 10 pounds is enough. 15 makes it tougher. So hopefully, I mean, Chandler's in great shape always. The motherfucker's ripped. He's always in shape. So who knows? I mean, that might not be a factor for him, but when it comes down to it, it's still a factor when it comes to the fight itself. But Oliveira is 34-10 overall, 22-10 in the UFC, 10-4 by KO TKO, 21-4 in submissions. That's a hell of a lot of submissions right there. 3-2 by decision, coming off a loss. Michael Chandler's 23-8. He's 2-3 in the UFC, but you wouldn't know it by his performances. If you've seen any of his fights, they're exciting, they're fun, but he has lost more than he's won in the UFC. 11-4 by KO TKO, 7-1 by sub, and 5-3 by decision. Also coming off a loss. Yeah, and Charles being the former UFC lightweight champion, you know, you always know you're going to get a good fight from Charles after he finally put it all together and stopped kind of getting that reputation for quitting in fights. Man, he started winning and winning big. He's coming off that loss. It was a split decision loss though to Arman Tsarukyan. But you know, he's got those big wins against Beneil Dariush, Justin Gaethje, as you see there, Dariush on the bottom. Beat Dustin Poirier. He beat Michael Chandler before. That's right, they fought before and beat Michael Chandler, like I said, by TKO in the second round. Tony Ferguson, Kevin Lee, Jared Gordon, Nick Lentz, David Tamer, Jim Miller. I mean, so many fucking big names on that he's beaten in the UFC. So, but he is coming out that loss to Arman Tsarukyan. But, you know, he's got the striking, he's got the submissions, and that's what Chandler's got to look out for. Even though he beat him by TKO in their last fight, you know, if they get down to the ground, no matter how tough Chandler is, you can't beat that squeeze of Oliveira. So, but yeah, looking at Michael Chandler, he's coming off a loss as well to Dustin Poirier by submission back in 22. That was the last time he fought. He's been waiting on Conor ever since. Master says he's got Olives. Charlie Olives by sub. Nice. Yeah, I can see that. And I could also see Chandler by TKO. That's why that makes this one tough. These were the two hardest ones to pick for me out of the entire, main card. But yeah, so he has that loss to Dustin Poirier. Before that, he beat Tony Ferguson with that crazy fucking front kick. And then before that, he lost to Charles Oliveira and Justin Gaethje. So yeah, his only 2 wins in the UFC are against Dan Hooker, which is a pretty impressive. That was a fun fight. And then Tony Ferguson. So did you see Tyson slap Paul in that way? Yeah, I did. That shit was funny. I didn't add that in here because I didn't even know about it until I was on the podcast already. But yeah, I watched it. That was pretty funny. I mean, and that was a legit slap. I mean, whether it was planned or not, he slapped the shit out of him. So it's funny shit. It's a good way to promote, especially with how kind of quiet and reserved Tyson's been, besides the little outlash he had against the media person, but still funny. So anyway, yeah, Michael Chandler with this big punch against Hooker there, and then the big carry and throw against Dustin Poirier. Tyson moves fast as fuck for his age. Yeah, 58 years old to be able to move that fast is insane. I can't even move that fast now, and I'm not that old. But he's a crazy athlete. He's a freak athlete. So yeah, definitely crazy. And then here's that kick for Michael Chandler against Tony Ferguson, which that's a cold fucking picture right there. It started Tony Ferguson on that nasty downhill swing, but yeah, that's a crazy pick, man. I don't know. I don't think he's gonna catch Charles Oliveira with anything like that though. So still a beast. Hope he shuts that loud mouth up with those hands. Yeah, I just want to see him land some damn good punches on Jake Paul and make him second guess himself. So in this one, I think I did pick Charles Oliveira, but I could see it going either way. So let's get to this main event and wrap this shit up. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Thanks to everybody in the chat, by the way. Keep it coming. I appreciate the interaction. Paul's looking flabby. Yeah. he had to bulk up for the heavyweight fight, but I don't know if he really looks like he's in that good a shape. But yeah, here we go. Main event, heavyweight championship bout, UFC 309. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Definitely excited for this one. And yeah, 27-1 for Jon Jones overall. That one loss being to Matt Hamill with the 12-6 elbow disqualification. Even though that is now legal, he still lost. Sucks, but he did. Would have been a great fight if it was a couple years ago. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I'm still hoping for a great fight now. You never know what these guys are going to come out and do. Jon Jones, look how fast he beat Cyril Gane, but that puts a lot of questions in my head because that was his only fight so far in the heavyweight division, and we only got to see him for a few seconds. So, and he didn't really have to fight any adversity or anything like that. So Stipe's getting old, but he's still got great boxing. Yeah, exactly. You don't know what you're going to get from Stipe, even more so than you don't know what you're getting from Jones, because Stipe hasn't fought in like 4 fucking years. So it's a tough one to think about. It's a tough one to predict. I'm not sleeping on Stipe, that's for sure. HR says, yeah, I get you, man. This could go either way. It was tough for me. I'm not the biggest Jon Jones fan. I'll say that right now. But I haven't been the biggest Stipe fan either. But I do like Stipe a lot. I respect what both these guys can do. Obviously, both legendary status. I mean, you can't sleep on what Stipe's done in the heavyweight division in the past, and Jon Jones in his entire career. Crazy. This is going to be Jon's last fight. Master says, yeah, we don't know yet. I think if I had to bet on it, I would say this is more of Stipe's last fight than it is Jon's. I don't know that Jon's going to walk away that easy, but you never know. So we got Jon Jones, some stats here. Youngest ever UFC champion at 23 years old. Longest unbeaten streak at 19. 27 wins. 10 by KO, TKO, 7 by sub. 15 most title wins, most title fight wins in UFC history with 15. 8 wins over former UFC champions. Number 3 pound for pound right now. Jon Jones, definitely legendary status. You can't deny it. I mean, especially with that one questionable loss. But shit, I still think it could go either way. You never know what Stipe is gonna bring. Being the former GOAT of the heavyweight division, still he is older and he hasn't fought in so long that ring rust could get to him, especially against an elite fighter like Jon Jones. It's tough. But, you know, here's what Jon Jones did against Ciryl Gane. Obviously, with that one punch, kind of backed him up, ankle picked him, took him down, and got that submission. So, you know, we didn't get to see a whole lot from him. 2 minutes and 4 seconds into the first round, and gets the submission by guillotine over Ciryl Gane in his only other heavyweight fight to win the title, by the way. So, yeah, let's see what he can do here against Stipe Miocic. But this was his, man, that picture too. Fuck, I can't get over that picture, because look at Ciryl Gane's face, man. He just looks stifled, just like, what the fuck just happened? Can't believe he just got submitted in 2 minutes by fucking Jon Jones after not having fought for so long and moving up to the heavyweight division, and he comes in and does that in the first round. Insane. So that's some of the reason why it's hard to deny the kind of shit that Jon Jones can do, and what kind of clout he has behind him that's justified. Gane was pissed. He definitely was. But yeah, here's some Stipe stats for you. 1,537 strikes landed, second most in heavyweight history. 15, let's see, what is, I don't even know what that is. 20, I don't know. Number 8 heavyweight, 9 most bonuses in heavyweight history with 9. Most heavyweight title fight wins in UFC history with 6. 75% finish rate. So, you know, they gave him what they could. I don't even know what this 20 stat is. I who knows? But yeah, that's his stats page for that they put out for him there. But, you know, Stipe, having fought all the big names and beaten the biggest names out there, DC twice. You know, he lost to Francis once, but he beat him once as well. Actually, and he lost to Daniel Cormier once as well. Oh, the 20 is for his record. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, 20-4. Yeah, you're right. My bad. It just looked weird. I don't know. I don't like the way they did that graphic. Anyway, 3 fights in a row with Daniel Cormier. His first one was a loss, and then he beat him twice after that. Fought Francis Ngannou. Dude, he's only fought 2 opponents since 2018, which was Francis Ngannou and Daniel Cormier. That's insane. Before that, he had Junior Dos Santos and Alistair Overeem and Fabricio Verdum, which he won the belt from. But I mean, he only has 2 decision wins, 2 decisions in all of those, which were both wins. The rest were TKO or KO. And almost all of them were in the first round except for 2. One was in the second, the other was in the 4th. So the way they put the poster is confusing. Exactly. Evangelista said it. But yeah, so I mean, Stipe, he's fought all the big fighters, but he hasn't fought since 2021. So I guess we're talking 3 years. I kept saying 4, but I guess it's more like 3.5 years, whatever, close enough. Too damn long since he's fought, and he's coming off that KO from Francis Ngannou, who's not even in the UFC anymore. So, but yeah, here you see against Daniel Cormier and Alistair Overeem, and then a couple against Francis Ngannou. So, who knows what we're gonna get here? Stipe versus Jon Jones. I didn't even put my picks page in here. God damn it. You know what? I'm gonna fix that, and I'm gonna do it real fast because I did want to show you my picks. Let's see. But yeah, I made my picks page and I put the as of right before I started, I put the odds from DraftKings, so you can see that too. As soon as I get this put in here, I will have it in just a second. and then I will show you my picks, and we'll wrap it up, and we'll get out of here. I thought I was gonna show them to you. Now I'm lost. Okay. Let me get it here, and then we'll wrap this up. Anyway, yeah, I mean, this is a tough one to call for me. I wasn't sure who I was gonna pick in Stipe versus Jon, just because it's just so hard to call with Stipe. You know, with Stipe not having fought in so long, and Jon having been out for a year after that injury and all that stuff. So it's a tough one to call, but I picked Jon Jones because I just had to. So no surprise there, I guess, and not very much fun, but it is what it is. Okay, here we go. There's your picks. I just put main card parlay because it just kind of puts it out there as a parlay. But we got Jon Jones at -625 favorite on that one. Charles Oliveira -265 favorite over Chandler. Bo Nickel -1350 over fucking Paul Craig. Kareem Silva -298 over Araujo, and Mauricio Hufi -900 over his opponent Jan Top. So there's my picks. That's it for me. I'm done. And I appreciate everybody in the chat for all of the interaction and all of the good banter. I get some trolls in here sometimes, and it gets a little annoying. So it's nice to talk to people that actually want to talk about the fights and not be dumb about shit. But yeah, thanks for checking out the show. Thanks for joining me and interacting with me. Evangelista, HR07, Master Sunchai, I think. We had Rick Allen, the troll of all trolls, earlier. My daughter Tren was in here. Go follow Tenant Tren on Twitch and all of her social medias. She's everywhere. YouTube as well. Go follow her. She's a gamer and a streamer. Fun stuff. So she'd appreciate that, and I would too. Don't forget to like and subscribe here as well. Come back every Thursday, 7 p.m. Arizona time to check out the show. We'll be, recapping Tyson and Paul next week, as well as, the outcome of Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic and everything else coming up as well. So don't forget to watch Tyson versus Paul tomorrow night, and then Jon Jones versus Stipe Saturday. Should be some fun fights, so enjoy them. Take it easy. Come back next week. I'm out of here. Peace.